Well, good morning, everybody. We're all in fine spirits, as I can see lots of smiles, which is lovely. We are talking about a really interesting topic today, and it's something which hasn't been talked about that much. It is a lot more addressed, though, now, and that is midlife from a male perspective. Obviously, for years, we've talked about women in midlife and that dreaded word, the menopause. And but men just haven't really been talking about it. I mean, really, all I used to hear about is, oh, he's going through a midlife crisis. He's bought a flash car, or he's got an earring, and it was almost like just joked. It was almost, it was ridiculed, but it's actually quite serious because you guys go through some stuff as well, don't you? Whether it's physical or emotional or life changes. I mean, it's a really big life stage. Um, I know that all of you have got a bit of a story and that you've overcome things, and it's made you all stronger. And now you have chosen to guide others so that hopefully that will help them work through this journey a little bit easier. So I'm really excited to hear from each of you. Can we start with just introducing ourselves a little bit? Obviously, just your name and a bit about what you do for the people watching. Tomasz?
Good morning. Thank you very much, Nia, for creating this space. This is a really interesting
Pleasure.
topic, and I love to be part of it because, would you believe it? I'm someone on the other side of 50, and I'm a man. So I have some information to share with others. Hopefully, it will be useful.
You don't look
So,
50. I'm just going to try to jump in there.
thank you very much. And you know what? I don't feel 50 either. So
Good.
that's when you reconnect with your true internal energy source, everything changes. When I was about 40, 45, I looked at least 50.
Okay.
Now, I don't feel it anymore. Time has no meaning.
I love
So back to the back to the original question. My name is Tamas from Tamas Coach, and I help middle-aged men and women to disconnect with their true self, learn to switch off the autopilot, and create the life they truly love.
Mhm.
I help them how to transform any stress and anxiety to joy, vitality, and inner peace. So they will have an amazing relationship with themselves and others. So that's what I do, and I really hope I can help at least and inspire a few people until the end of my journey.
Love that. That's a beautiful mission. Thank you very much. Roderick?
Ah, yes. Well, credentials, I'm 51 and a half. So there you go.
You don't look it
Uh,
either.
which, which I was just thinking, I don't know if I do or I don't, but I've always looked older than my chronological age since I was a teenager. Interesting enough, had its advantages back then.
Yeah.
But I think my appearance age is and biological age for sure is now lower than my chronological age. But yes, so as I've just said, in the middle of that midlife, mid-chapter transformational chapter. I've been through my own transformation, both professionally and metabolically into health. It is great that we have this conversation, so thank you for creating the space because I think men do have difficulty confronting the changes they start to feel at around 40 and older, not just in perhaps how they feel with relation to their own body and health and energy, but also in how they see the world. Their perception of the world starts to shift, and that's quite difficult to handle and deal with. My mission is to help midlife, primarily men like myself, to actually turn that window 40 to 60 into a transformational pivot into a third chapter of their life that will actually be free of pain and the unfortunate misery that many people in the Western world actually spend their last 20 or 30 years going through. And I have my own personal experiences of my parents, my mother in particular, and many others in the family who have spent, 15, 20, their last 15, 20 years in increasingly decreasing standard of quality of life thanks to their health. So my kind of tagline is I help midlife men actually lose 10 and more kilograms, but I deal with it through a 3-month coaching program that takes them through lifestyle changes so they can maintain it forever, that are focused at regenerating and revving up their mitochondria. So there you go.
Love that. Love that. Fantastic. Thank you. Philen.
Hello, Nia.
Hello.
Roderick, it's good to meet you. Thomas, my friend, hello. It's good to see you again, always. So my name is Philen. I work with traditional food wisdom and modern insight into gut health and the gut microbiome to guide individuals mostly in this midlife phase, after the exploration phase of life, when things start to feel a little bit more real, and we kind of feel ourselves losing rhythm and needing to get back to center. And so I use traditional food wisdom to guide individuals, men and women. Mostly women is how it's been so far, to reconnect with their inner rhythms, their inner wisdom, the inner cycles of their body, and to synchronize that with the rhythms of their natural environment. And so to bring this whole system, mind, body, spirit, the physical body, emotional body, psychological body, all of it, to bring it into sync. And to do this and so I offer this through highly personalized one-on-one coaching programs. And the focus of this is to guide individuals to create a sustainable lifestyle that integrates into their daily lives and daily responsibilities, whatever that may be, because it's different for everyone. So moving away from the fix mentality and the hack mentality and the mentality of taking a break from my normal life to go and fix something and then return to the normal life. My work is focused on bringing all of that rhythm into an integrated way of living so that wellness and rhythm and balance and connection and presence become just normal, like brushing your teeth every day.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that. Wow, we are coming at this from different perspectives, but that is fantastic. And obviously everybody's got very different life experiences and everybody's gone through something a little bit different, which is going to be really interesting to go over. So in your experience, how does midlife show up for men? Is it physical? Is it mental? And around about what age did you personally or do your clients start experiencing changes? Who should we start with? Tomasz?
Well, I think it depends on our journey,
Okay.
how well we looked after our body
Hmm.
and our mind and spirit and emotions. I was completely disconnected. I wasn't. I didn't have this kind of self-care. I was a protector and a provider, as we are meant to be as men, and completely disconnected from what is good for me and what is healthy for me. So physical changes, I would agree with Roderick. It was about the age of 40 when the hangover was more painful after a night out, when my body wasn't as flexible and forgiving anymore, when certain type of food, back to Philan, made me more sensitive. So it was about the age of 40. But little did I know, this whole process or procedure is reversible. And with the right steps, we can rejuvenate ourselves. We can get any noisy joints lubricated and silent again. We can get our purpose in life, meaning, internal drive, and energy that doesn't depend on anything around us. So I think the future is bright. No matter when it started, what I noticed, the most important thing, we all have the power, men and women, to make positive changes in our life and create a life that we love.
Oh, I love your joy. You are just, it's infectious. I just absolutely love it. Your energy is incredible. Thank you. How about you, Roderick? What was your experience?
Well, I wanted latch on to what Thomas was saying about, that it is reversible and it's about purpose. It's about you have the power to actually take control. I use the phrase sometimes take back control
Mhm.
to remind of that catchphrase from Brexit, but actually. You do have the power to take back control, but I'm afraid what happens is in our Western world, and I'm not, we all the patterns, that kind of very nuclear, divisive way that we're conditioned, and the societies we live in that are very nuclear, mean that we spend our formative years and our first sort of 20 adult years in this system. And then when we hit that wall, and it starts at around, for me, it started at about 40, those early 40s. You start to wonder, actually, what is my reason for being on this planet? I mean, what I've been doing, I had a completely standard Western English education, career progression into corporates, etc. And then you start to think, actually, is this what I'm meant to be doing on this planet? And another point Thomas makes very well is that the man is kind of the images of holding up the shelter for the family to grow in underneath, but start doesn't men are not taught about self-care. They don't, there's a lot of stuff in magazines and stuff, but people don't really sort of take it into their kind of part of their day, part of their actual bandwidth, mental bandwidth, to actually make sure that if they're holding up that ceiling, that then they've got to be pretty strong and in pretty great shape. And I don't mean muscles and fitness. I mean metabolic, mitochondrial, spiritual, psychological shape to do that because it's an enormous weight. And then for many people, as they move through that 40 to 60, their entire life starts to change. Their children move out, go to university, start their lives. At work, they may have reached a kind of a glass ceiling where they're now, unfortunately, looked down upon as being kind of old furniture, and, bring in the younger, newer furniture because the old ones have no more to offer, which is completely wrong. But at the same time, your energies start to fail. You start to become a bit more. Your parents start to go through their last years with all the problems that can bring. So you start to become a bit more. You start to become a bit more aware of your own mortality. And I think that happens, and that's why we often see that one of the kind of reactions that are most common is buying the motorbike, buying the sports car, starting a second family, and these sort of very dramatic kind of responses. For me, it started early 40s, led to me actually quitting my corporate career, it led to me my health transformation, it led to my actually very huge change in my world view as well.
Well, you raised some really interesting points there. Yeah, of course, you've got the parents, you've got, like you said, children moving out. And were really interesting when you said as well is about at work. Yeah, you're right. Suddenly you get to that point, men and women, and yeah, they're looking for the younger people to come in and replace you, which is baffling because what happened to experience and wisdom and all of that, which is way more valuable than age. But anyway, that's the world we live in. Philen, how about you? What was your experience of it?
So my experience, so I've got 5 months left of being 49, and then I hit the 50s. So that's where I am. And I've lived, I've lived a wild and free life. So I haven't been part of the structures that most, males in society are a part of, buy the house and own all these things and the family and children. And I haven't been a part of that. I've been free with a backpack cruising around the world. And so I had imagined that I had dodged a bullet with that kind of lifestyle and that this kind of midlife thing wasn't going to get me, but I was wrong. It comes to get everyone. Um, and in my experience, it took an from my personal experience and with my friends that I speak with in the same process, it takes a moment of, it took a moment of collapse in some way. And so there've been, throughout my life, there've been many of these aspects of wellness and health and taking care of yourself, diet and digestion and muscles and stamina and lung capacity. And, all of this was I can't say that I wasn't aware of it. I was definitely aware of it, fully conscious of it. But there was never any need for me to really give attention to this, because I had energy and my cognitive function was good. Emotionally, I was good, good, but I could handle all of that, and I could handle my body could handle, it could recover. I could pick up something, a bug or whatever, and I could recover quickly. Hangovers, as Thomas said, I could recover quickly. So there was this recovery, and because this whole system seemed to be handling everything well, it really never felt to me like there was a need for me to take this seriously. I need to take life seriously. But then what happened in my personal life is life happened to cause a collapse. And so in my situation, it was a financial collapse. It was a relational collapse. It was a complete change of community that I lived in, society that I was in. It all just kind of dismantled. And in that moment, I realized that I had spent my life building a container for my life to hold my life. And now that container was dismantling because it no longer had the ability to answer any of the questions I was now facing. And so this container that I'd built was just completely obsolete. And it just started dismantling, really. And I had no control over it. And so my first response was to try and push through. And so it would be, go back to the way I used to do fitness and push through there. So start running hard, and follow some of these influencers on Instagram and do these 28-day programs and all of this stuff. Do some radical changes to the way that I was eating. Try to take on some new work, new business ideas, strategize. And so everything going on up here, but again, using an old framework, using my old container to try and solve new questions that I hadn't foreseen coming to me. And so as a result of that collapse, and then when the collapse came, trying to push through, but not getting anywhere, and realizing, and actually just making myself more tired, realizing, wow, I'm in a completely new space and I feel quite helpless. And then in that state of helplessness, realizing painfully, because as a man, you don't kind of own up to this stuff, you don't talk about this, realizing that, I'm actually not managing here. I'm really not managing. And I was really, really, really fortunate. And I'm supremely grateful that I was in a community of women, this beautiful sisterhood that came around me over a period of 4 years when this all first began. And I owe them so much, and the whole sisterhood, so much gratitude, because it is in that space that I was held. And I felt that I was given permission to feel what I was feeling, which from a male perspective where I grew up, these kind of feelings I wasn't permitted to feel, let alone talk about. And so in this space where I was given this permission to just be and allow myself to go through this process, I then started to realize, wow, okay, so my body doesn't respond like it used to the exercises that I've always been doing, the physical exercises, so I bust my knees very quickly running. And I realized, oh, wow, I can't do that anymore. Eating habits, those things that I'd learned, those habits that I'd learned, those diets, the stuff that you see out there, I was applying them and they were short term, but nothing stuck. And I observed that. um, I started to observe the state of my mind because it wanted to make something happen, but nothing was actually happening. So I started to realize, wow, I'm actually creating suffering here. I don't need to shift something on the outside. I need to regain peace here because this is a mess. And over time, what has happened through this process is this realization that this world that I've created for myself can collapse and will collapse and has collapsed without announcement. And in that moment, the only thing that I have is this, and that it is how I take care of this body and this mind with this brain that is going to carry me through whatever storm comes up. And while this container, which dismantled for my life, rebuilds itself, I'm going to need to just be here to make sure that this thing can hold whatever life is now coming from out from this distraction.
Whoa, Phelan, that was incredibly insightful. Thank you so much. Absolutely fascinating how different each of your experiences have been. I mean, Phelan, you literally said it. He was off backpacking, no family, possibly not as many commitments as you guys had, but it got him. So we can now say that, what is it they say about there's nothing guaranteed apart from death and taxes? We can add midlife to that. It's going to get everybody. Doesn't matter where you are. That
Yeah.
was really interesting. Tomasz, any questions for anybody? You got one, I think. You're doing your finger.
No, that is the insights from both of you guys. Honestly, that is incredible. What I've heard from Dr. Wayne Dyer and stuck with me that the midlife basically is when the realization, when you realize that what was true in the morning turns out to be lie in the afternoon.
Ooh. Mm.
Can you expand on that? What does that mean?
So you are trained, you are programmed how to behave, for example, as a man, how to be a useful part of the society, how to sit in school 45 minutes without fidgeting, without being yourself, without expressing yourself, how to be a good citizen, to go and work 9 to 5 and do something that is absolutely not inspiring to you just because you need to earn that money to buy that car, to impress that future wife, to get that property, to go to on holiday abroad, when you are already miserable on the last couple of days because you plan yourself going back to the life you hate. And we are programmed from the lifetime, and midlife is a perfect opportunity when the penny drops. Something fishy is going on here. And there are people who suppress that. God bless them. Most of the time, these people die with regrets and disappointments. And there are those people who say, hold on, whatever I've been told, it will work. It doesn't make me happy. So there must be a way, a different way that gives me the option, the opportunity to be happy as well, to enjoy my life finally. So this is what he meant. What was true in the morning turns out to be a lie in the afternoon.
I can deeply resonate and agree with that exactly. I think that age is when you start to see through the crap and actually that's what the way that we are conditioned to behave and the aspirations we're supposed to have perhaps aren't those actually that as human beings we need. The difficulty then becomes, how do I start to deal with that? So you said suppress. I think a lot of people deeply think about these things without expressing them externally, but feel trapped because of the mortgage, the status, the family unit they've brought up around them, and their need to secure that as well. I mean, it's very limiting and very so that is the big question, perhaps, is the one that we'll be talking about. How to make does it have to be a pivot? I mean, we have the kind of the material reaction is to go out and buy the car or get a younger wife or take up endurance sports, but that's just a kind of a knee-jerk reaction. But a lot of people are frightened of taking serious directional change because of all the things they would have to leave behind. So is there a middle way? Or yeah, what are your thoughts on that? In fact, all of you.
I'd love to jump in here because this is very exciting, both from Thomas and from Roderick and the questions raised. Um, so Shakespeare, and this above all else, to thine own self be true. And for what I've realized at this midlife stage, we are conditioned. Society conditions us and trains us to fulfill a certain role. And we take on that role, and in innocence, we accept that this is how it is. And then we reach this stage in our lives, which I don't believe is a numerical midlife thing. It really can happen at any stage. And as Thomas mentioned, for many people, unfortunately, not allowing themselves to be in it and welcoming it and allowing it to transform them, and sadly they don't get to pass through this beautiful transformation of it. But it's this realization of, wait a minute, let me start asking questions again of everything. Let me accept that everything that I know, this entire knowledge bank that I have, which I regard as truth, could possibly be false, or could only be a tiny piece of the whole picture. And then, that being the case, let me now start to question and interrogate each one of these things, which is why meditation and silence and stillness, and just sitting in it all with oneself is so important. It gives us that opportunity to really go into what's happening over here in our thinking and to interrogate it. For truth, not according to what we believe, or what has always worked or what's working for everyone else, but coming back to Tamas, what you mentioned, it's about getting back to oneself. And here also, Roderick asked, do we call it a pivot? Is it a pivot? And I would venture to say it's not a pivot, and it actually doesn't require anything radical. It's simply, and it doesn't, and the beautiful part of it is it's not anything external. There is no external solution to this. It's simply a coming back to oneself. This is who I am. This is what makes me happy. This is what makes me smile. I'm really enjoying doing this today on a Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. And tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., I'm enjoying doing something else. And that's okay. And I'm okay with that because it's reminding me of, hey, wait a minute. Before this mind and the conditioning of society came and hijacked me, when I was a child in my happiest zone, not only was I in my happiest zone, but everyone around me was happy because I was just radiating joy and peace and happiness. When I was in that zone, this is how I used to live. And it's remembering that, because we disconnect from that. We disconnect from our inner child. And it's not going to be anything on the outside in the external world that gets that back. It's about reclaiming our sovereignty. This is who I am, and I have full permission for that. And yes, we have these external material world responsibilities, each one different. And so these are realities that each one person, each individual needs to face. I don't expect everyone to just quit their job and put a backpack on and sell everything up and cruise off and blaze a whole new trail. That's worked fine for me to a point, but for others that would be irresponsible, and it's just not who they are. It's not good. But there are steps along the way for everyone that can mean it can start with just 5 minutes in a day of just returning to oneself and getting back in tune again. I'm a musician, and so from time to time, my guitar slips out of tune, and so I pick that guitar up, and I don't go and throw it away and buy a new guitar, and I don't instantly go out and buy new strings. I just pick up that same guitar with the same strings, and instead of rushing in and playing a new song or playing an old song, I sit there and I tune it. I go back to every string, and I just tune it back to where it is in its sweet spot. And I feel like that is what this midlife journey is. That's the opportunity that it presents to all of us who embrace it and welcome it and see it, not as a crisis, but as a beautiful transformation moment. It's an invitation back to ourselves, back to our authentic selves.
If
I
I
love
can
that.
just, oh, I'm jumping. Sorry, Thomas, to let you. I agree with you there, Villain. But the point, my question was, what you've just said. Come find, rediscover yourself, and what makes you happy, which sounds very kind of banal, but it's important. Maybe the word is wrong, but when you do that, then you might discover that you're so far away from your sweet spot in the life you've constructed and led for 20 or 30 years that to be able to lead a life that's more in your sweet spot will require some quite dramatic changes in the external world. So that's my question and I agree it's not a sudden I woke up this morning and I'm completely different and that it's a process that takes time. So it's not like you suddenly wake up and run away and sell your house and abandon your family and your job. But that's of course not happens. But in the end, the reality of who you are may be quite different to the reality of the life you're leading. So at some point there's going to be a gap. So yeah, I mean, what do you do about that?
Courage. Courage is non-negotiable. And we are going to lose friends, and there's going to be loss. There is going to be loss, and that is unavoidable. So it is the absolute reality of life that life becomes death, becomes life. And without death, there can be no life. And as much as we'd like to make, and I speak about this boldly and with confidence because I've passed through this myself. I've tried to defend, I've tried to hold on to, I've tried, and it hurt me so much more. Until at last that realization came that, okay, Philen, you can either, and as Thomas mentioned, you can either go back and then just hold everything together, and then you are going to live with regret and resentment, which is a disease I've chosen not to live with. Or at some stage, it is, okay, this is going to require courage, some hard conversations with myself, some really difficult conversations with those around me who've come to know me as this, and who've come to see me and depend on me as this. And then, thankfully, what midlife has done for me also is give me the pain of it all has softened me to the point where previously I would have done radical things and not cared about the ripple effects, but having been softened by the hardness and the pain of the journey, realizing that these hard conversations can be had in a gentle way, seeking mutual ways forward, rather than a case of, this is not me, so I'm throwing my toys out the cot and I'm going my way, but rather, this isn't me, I'm discovering what is me, and by accepting and embracing and honoring what is me, it's going to have this ripple effect that's going to touch you, and it's going to touch you, and it's going to touch you. Now, can we have a conversation around this to figure out how we can pass through this together so that the ripples don't cause pain and damage and pain is unavoidable, but doesn't cause damage. That I do this with grace and kindness, both to myself and to those around me.
Very interesting. Thomas, yes, I'm keen to hear what you think.
May I just respond because this is such an exciting topic. That's what I do, and that's what it wakes me up in the morning with amazing energy. So first of all, midlife is not a crisis. Midlife is a turning point, an opportunity for a redirection. For those people who are not happy with the direction where they are heading towards. Some people are, and happy days. But most of us just suppressed our true personality and who we are. When we lose ourselves or when we get lost, what we do, a wise person would stop and wouldn't follow a journey to the unknown that still keep them lost. So you'd stop. If you are wise enough, you turn back and go back to the last place where you knew where you were. Because you can change the direction from there. In case you are completely lost in an unknown terrain, if you are wise, you ask a person who knows that terrain, who's been there before. For example, Himalaya, you ask for a Sherpa. You do not just get your rucksack fill and go to the top. You ask a guide, a qualified guide to take you on the journey. So that's what is wise, to ask somebody who's been already on the journey before you. Second, Rodriguez, what to do? First of all, you need to realize whatever is stored inside of your brain might be not the information that you need, and that helps you because that information got you to the current place where you are right now that causes your unhappiness. So you need to find those information that no longer serve you and release from your brain and make space, create space for you new information that will be useful for the future. Secondly, emotions. If you are emotionally unstable or immature, if your emotions get the best out of you, you won't be able to handle life events. So you need to find out what are those scars from your childhood that makes you feel vulnerable, emotionally unstable. If you can deal with them, you will handle life as it is, neutrally. And the third thing, you need to find who you are. Find your true values, not your implemented values from society, from others' expectations, but what is the most important thing for you. If you are align your daily actions with your highest values, you will be on the right track.
Very interesting. Thank you ever so much, Tomasz. So Philen's talking about embracing his inner child, returning to joy. And Tomasz, that was a really good point you made about seeking guidance. That's really important. And that's something that I think more men are doing now, as opposed to just, struggling alone. Roderick, you asked that great question. Thank you so much for doing my job. I was very, very happy about that. Thank you. It was a great question. Do you have an answer for it yourself? Is there anything in particular that you did that you found helpful?
Yeah. Well, so I did the quitting the corporate career first,
Mhm.
and I did my own sort of health transformation. When after I quit, I did a year studying to be a coach, and that was primarily becoming a coach. At least the way that I did it, the course, the training that I had was about discovering yourself. So we were looking at personal values. We're looking at understanding personality typology and how that works, and how it can work in our to advantage or to our detriment, depending on situation and how we deal with the situation, and honor the fact that we have these values and we have this typology that means that we react in certain ways, and therefore how to then work better with the environment so that we're working more to our strengths, whether it be values or typology than to our detriment. So that was very informative for me. But I'd already made some pretty important changes, and you know. One of the big things that I didn't do, and this is where Philen's point about the conversation and the ripples, that the changes I made had ripples and have ripples that necessarily affect everything externally of me, from the closest to the furthest. And yeah, and that's where I probably, have a lot of things still to make up, and that is
Mm.
the conversations around that, which are hard conversations because I'm not sure if it's now Thomas or Philen who said, but you to get to this point, you have done things and been someone, but to move in a different direction, you will necessarily be slightly different and do slightly different things, and that can be very disconcerting and for the people around you. So that's probably the part where I would have, I did most of it myself. I think well, but the external environment I didn't cater for, didn't didn't manage, cater for, have though that open conversations that I probably could have done. So if you're listening out there, men, then definitely go and talk to Thomas and Philen about that part is really important and cannot be missed out if you want to actually start to uh, work with yourself going forwards rather than putting on some sort of mask and suit that is provided from the external world.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
yeah, I love
mm,
that.
mm,
Thank you.
mm.
Thank you ever so much, Roderick. There's obviously a lot of inner work that needs to be done. It's not an easy transition. It's not an easy part of life. And I'm so happy that it's finally being addressed. And just hearing how expressive you all are and how much we're sharing it's really, really it just shows how advanced we've become. And I think it's really special. And I know that this is going to help a lot of men. Um, I know that Tamas, before you and I had a conversation before the others even joined this morning, because you were first, excuse me, you were first on the call. And you said something that will just sit with me, I think, forever, when I said you're always so joyous and so happy, and I just love your energy. And you said you don't know the pain that I had to go through to get to this point. And I just think I think all three of you are incredible, because you're so much stronger now. But let's acknowledge that it wasn't an easy journey. And also, Roderick, the fact that you just mentioned, it's not even over for yourself, I think in particular. You've still got a lot of questions, and it's still something you're working through. Um, but I think, again, I think that's something which is going to be reassuring for people, because it's like, okay, there are other men going through this. I'm not the only one. It's not going to be an overnight fix, but you've given them quite a lot of guidance so far. Um, Before I ask I think probably one of my final questions, I was about to say, does anybody want to say anything or ask any more questions?
I would like to reflect back on what you just said because it's really, really important. If people in midlife crisis trying to go on cruise ships or buy that Ferrari or get that 20 years younger girlfriend, they are missing the point. What is happening, they want to get an internal happiness from the outside, and you cannot outsource your happiness because it will be out of your control. If you want to own your own happiness, you need to do the inner work. Inner work, whatever has been stored with pain, will come out with pain. That's why everybody or most of the people avoid it. It's not that easy. So I ask my clients, no matter how smiley I am, whenever we start to work, make sure you've got some tissues with you. Because if you release those wounds, those anchors, those sandbags, at least your balloon can fly, take off the journey. Apart from that, it will be always just dragging along the surface. It won't get too high. If you want to set yourself free, you need to do the inner work mentally, emotionally, and physically, because it's part of the package. This is our vehicle that allows us for these beautiful, incredible, earthy experiences. But your spirit cannot be the the fulfillment that happiness cannot be outsourced. So that is the only thing I wanted to add.
Thank you. I love that. Does anybody else want to comment or ask a question, please?
Uh, that was lovely, Taras. I wanted to come back to the idea of the go through. You don't know the pain I had to go through to get to this point, and I'm going to be a bit philosophical, but that's a concept that is literally natural. That is nature. That is how evolution happened. It's an acute pain, shock, stress that either the cell or the organism didn't survive or adapted to and rebuilt back stronger to then develop further. That is literally the definition of natural selection. It's an assault, some sort of pain, discomfort, something from a source that either the organism cannot deal with, and that's the end of its evolutionary path, or actually adapts to and is ready the next time. And it's the same with inner work. That Tamas and Philen do. That's a principle that one needs to understand. If you want to just live in a comfy zone your entire time, you will not develop. You will stagnate and eventually leave the story of evolution. But so it's necessary, and I help clients with the physical part of that triumvirate. Of head, soul, and body. But it's exactly the same. A very popular thing, cold thermogenesis, cold exposure. It's exactly the same principle. Or heat shock, sauna. It's or even xenohormosis, which is the acute shocks from toxic substances in plants that we have adapted to over time that we're able now to deal with. That's why we're here. If we hadn't adapted to them, then we wouldn't have progressed on the evolutionary path. Cold thermogenesis. It's a cold, acute external shock that we have the adaptations to do. But if we don't ever do them and we sit in our central heated houses all year round and air conditioned without heat shock, whether it be 40 degrees at midday in Africa or minus 20 here in Czech Republic in the winter, if we don't expose ourselves to that, then we lose that adaptability. And I'm talking about the physical, we're talking about cells, I'm talking about organisms and biology, but it's exactly the same when it comes to emotional, spiritual development that Thomas and Philen have been talking about. There is necessarily to adapt and be stronger going forward, a requirement for adapting to pain or discomfort that arises.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredibly important. And in fact, you have led me nicely onto my final point. I wanted to address what physical things can men do at this stage of their life, because we've talked a lot about all of that mental work that they need to do. So I don't know, you're leading this into this talk today, Roderick. Every time you jump ahead with a question. So thank you. You've made my work a lot easier. Yeah, so you've already touched upon it, shock, cold, and hot therapies. Anything else you'd like to add before we maybe move on to one of the others?
What I talked about are kind of simply we should be more in sync with the natural environment of the
Yeah.
place where we live. So everything from light exposure to temperature changes to the seasonal changes in light and dark. I mean, that's a given. We have
Hmm.
literally lived in those environments up until the last last 100 years in total comfort, where we've completely excluded those elements from our lives. But actually, the basics are, and those actually are the basics. They're not I mean, cold thermogenesis is simply just an acute way of getting a bit of that cold adaptation back to us. But actually, we should be living in much colder houses and spending time outside in shorts as the temperature changes in the autumn to the winter, and then getting hot in the 40 degrees. Summer. That's how it should be. That's normal. We don't live normally. But
Mm.
anyway, just to say, actually, but everybody's looking for that magic pill, the magic therapy, the magic thing that's going to do. Cold thermogenesis itself will not help a lot. Okay, there's a whole. It's it's the way we lead our 24 hours, from the light we get, the times we go to bed, the length of sleep we get, the food we put in our mouth, and the temperature. I mean, all of that is part of it. And it's about helping, it's about getting your environment, external environment now I'm talking about, closer to the one that your cells remember and have adapted to, and have built up that resilience. Because in a comfy, convenient world, they literally have nothing to do. And on the contrary, there are all these new stressors that we've created in our environment that they don't know how to deal with, or they try and deal with somehow, but generally it results in what we think we call disease, like cancer, etc. So that's just your cells trying to deal with the environment that you're putting them in. That was again a bit more on a philosophical, higher level, I think. But it's about how much you sleep, when you sleep, how you prepare for sleep, food, movement. Movement is natural. We sit around all day. We should be moving all the time. And light environment and temperature environment. So it's about those kind of fundamental things.
Yeah, getting back to nature, literally getting back to basics, which was my post this morning. Yeah, literally. Tomasz, obviously, Qigong has changed your life, and you spoke at the beginning of how you started to notice you were less flexible, clicky joints. So can you tell us a little bit more about how that's helped you?
First of all, what I would like to mention, and that is really important, especially after midlife, our body starts to decline. We won't have that muscle mass anymore. Our joints will start to make noises and it will be uncomfortable. One of my clients said, even it's challenging to tying my shoes. These things happen unless we start to invest in our future selves, and that is all avoidable. The most important thing is the variety of exercises, not a linear movement all the time. So you can run like Phil and tried, but there might be consequences because you overwork a certain area without supporting the other. So the variety is key. Secondly, please make sure you enjoy no matter what you do. If you need to force yourself to do something, it's not yours. There is something out there you will be enjoying, I promise to you. For me, that is Qigong. For other people, it's yoga. For other people, you name it. It can be that. Rock climbing, I don't mind. For me, it's Qigong because that is a beautiful ancient wisdom with the body movement. It's good for the spirit, the emotions, and the mindset as well. Breath work, internal organ health. It is amazing for balance. It is amazing for joint flexibility. It is amazing for my internal organs health. It is amazing for the cardiovascular health. It is amazing for my waste disposal. For me, this is something that nobody ever need to remind me to do. I just cannot wait. I just cannot wait and can't wait how my body reflects back to me. What energy will I discover? So my happiness now comes from the inside.
What is there to say? I mean, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's really inspiring and yeah, lovely. What do you do, Phelan, in terms of what did you do rather, and anything external, so anything physical? Obviously, your thing is food, so I'm guessing you changed what you eat and you looked at your diet more.
So three things there. The two I'll just mention shortly, because Tamas has covered them and Roderick has covered them. But moving the body and breathing. These are things that are happening all the time, but we just haven't been doing it consciously. And so bringing our conscious energy and attention to how we are moving the body and how we are breathing and observing how our body is responding in different ways to these new practices that we are bringing in intentionally. But that's been spoken about, and Tamas is really the expert in that field with his qigong, and Roderick in terms of the balance between the triumvirate balance between mind, body, spirit, and metabolic health and the mitochondria and everything that he's mentioned, that Roderick mentioned about rhythm and being in natural rhythm with nature and the environment, super important. The work that I do and focus on food, it's something we take. First of all, there's this idea, and it's a very tiny, small idea that food is fuel, and so we eat to give our bodies fuel, but that's not it. Food is packets of information, and it's these packets of information that have literally created this physical body and brain. This whole architecture that we know of ourselves has been created via the digestive system. Packets of information are carried by food, taken into the system. There is intelligence, interaction, and communication that takes place where the body announces to the information that's coming in what it needs. The food that's coming in announces what it's bringing. The body takes from it what it needs in that moment because it knows what it needs. And we are living in a society now where we are taking information from the outer world, and we have these generic templates of what is healthy and what is good. And it's very much nutrient focused, and it's very micro focused and one level for everything. And that is not helpful. Because what that does is it gives us an excuse to not give attention to our own selves. Because what's good and healthy for me is not what's good and healthy for you, is not what's good and healthy for my brother and my father. Their structure, their entire constitution has been different from mine. And so the foods that serve their wellness do not serve my wellness. And I can eat all the healthy salads and everything. That's going to damage my digestive system, which is going to damage my whole system. So the salads are not healthy for everyone. And everything that's labeled as healthy is not healthy for everyone. And so I encourage everyone to give more attention to this. And there's wisdom, there's traditional wisdom that goes back over 5,000 years. Modern science is now affirming that. We have all the tools, we have the knowledge base, we have it all there, but it requires an effort. We need to unlearn what we've been programming ourselves with, and we need to relearn. And that, as Roderick has mentioned several times, takes time. It's a time commitment. It's not a case of just going and finding out, okay, these are, it's like the whole food pyramids thing, don't get me started on that, but it's more complex than that. It's more complex in the beginning because we have disconnected so incredibly from our bodies and from nature. But once we reconnect with that wisdom and we start to identify the signals that our body is sending to us, what these signals mean, what it's asking for, when we start to eat consciously and feel into our body as I'm taking this meal, where am I feeling it? How am I feeling it? These particular indicators, what are they showing me? Then with time, it's a relationship. With time, we begin to learn that, okay, this is actually, I'm feeling lighter. I'm feeling brighter. I'm feeling sharper. I'm feeling softer. I'm feeling more open. Okay, this is good for me, regardless of what the external world information is saying. But this is actually serving me. And then again, in the same with everything, it's really helpful to have someone who is a professional and who's trained in this to guide us, because what could take possibly 4 years or 5 years of figuring it out by yourself, which is really difficult in the busyness of everyday life, there are those people, those guides, those who've been trained in this field who can quickly guide you along a path so that, and help you to shortcut, to fast track, to streamline what could be 4 years down, literally, in the case of the work I do, down into 4 months. Put you on a track, give you what to look at and go, right, let me feed my body, not just for fuel, but let me feed it with nourishment, deep tissue layered nourishment, not according to what people are saying, but according to what my body is saying.
Yeah, very, very important. Thank you. I love that a lot. You're absolutely right. There are so many different diets out there, and what suddenly works for one person, everybody jumps on it, and before they know it, they're eating like them, getting completely different results. So yeah, well, this has been a jam-packed session, hasn't it? Loads has gone down here. I've learned a lot, and it's really similar. Everything that you guys have said have said about things from a male perspective, I can completely relate to from a female perspective. So it is really relatable for everybody, and yeah. This has been a really good one. I can't thank you enough for your time and contributions. Any last questions or last thoughts? Yes, Tomasz?
Uh, it's a message to
Hmm.
everyone who doesn't feel happy, healthy, and fulfilled. This is feedback. This is a symptom, and it doesn't have to be that way. Your body is trying to communicate to you. Uh, you haven't found the right thing that is nurturing your body, as Philan said, or Roderick. It doesn't provide you that energy. So keep looking, keep keep a curious mind, because
Mm,
I can guarantee you your happier, healthier, and most fulfilled self is available to you. Just keep looking for it. Don't give
mm,
up.
mm.
That's the perfect ending, and that's a really reassuring message. Thank you ever so much. Well, again, yeah, really excited for this one. I think it's been incredibly insightful, and lots has been shared. And yeah, thank you again. I shall leave you all to your day, and you go and enjoy that 40 degrees, Phelan. I also have sunshine, so I'm not particularly envious. And yeah, thank you, everybody. Have a great
Thank,
day. Thank
thank
you
you
Thank
for
you
both.
very
this. It was
much.
a really good
Thank
session.
you, Neil. Thank you,
Bye.
guys.
Bye
Bye.
Guys.
bye.
Take care. Bye bye.